Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. Welcome to our show. Whether you're watching us live on the podcast on Wednesday night, that was last week, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But let's get a few comments here. Spencer Korn says, hello there, guys.
Spencer. Welcome.
Okay, we need to block somebody. And Paul Hollis says, hello, Rob and Joan. Okay. Just hold on a minute, Marjorie, and I'll bring your comment up in a minute. Thank you. One more time. There we go. Right here. Okay. Marjorie Deering says hello on time and glad to be here. We're glad that you're here too.
That doesn't happen very often. But...
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Okay, so back to what I was saying. Whether you're watching us live on Wednesday night at 7 p.m., or if you're listening to the podcast, or if you're watching a repeat of this on any of our channels, we're so glad that you're here.
Hey, Joe. Welcome.
Joe Conjal says hi, Rob and Joan.
Another from
Joe.
The North Carolina contingency.
Yeah, our authors are from North Carolina, Joe. Yep. So, Voice of Indie podcast, right after our show tonight on Blog Talk Radio with host Beam Weeks and Stephen Gary G's, our good friends. Tonight's guest is Jan Sykes, October 26th. That's tonight. It's Jan Sykes. And episode rewind coming up this Saturday, the 29th, episode 49, Pamela S. Canepa. And that's time travel and hurricanes all mixed up together. And we have time travel tonight to talk about, so that's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. That's at 5:30 p.m., right where you're watching right now, episode rewind. And then next Wednesday at 7 o'clock, we have New York Times bestselling author Ann Hillerman. And that's at 7 o'clock on November 2nd. And I'm giggling like a schoolgirl already. Yeah. So, what can I tell you?
Joan's
Those of you that watch
author.
The show, he is her dad was my favorite author.
Yeah, since 1970.
Yes.
So,
yep. I've read every single one of his books, and I've now read hers. Chanel M. Fletcher says...
Hello, Chanel.
Okay. Let me show you this one first. She's getting out of the hospital tomorrow.
That's a good thing.
All of you that watch the show know who Chanel is and what she's been going through, and you've been so supportive
it's been a battle.
Of her. Please continue to pray.
Keep praying.
She's had a stroke, was the latest thing. But, she has bone cancer, and she's fighting the good fight. They need to do another blood transfusion first, but I should be out tomorrow. We're praying for you all the time and think of you constantly, Chanel.
Yes. And it's great to hear you, to see you here.
It is good to see you
your
here.
Input.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you're feeling well enough to listen to the show.
For sure.
And then you'll like this one. You'll like these people, Chanel.
These people are mountain people here.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we bring them in?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And introducing Rob and MARCEE. Hi, Rob and MARCEE.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, we're so glad you could be here. Wait a minute. There was one more comment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Chanel says, woohoo, that you're mountain people. And Barbara Duffy Henderson.
Hey, Barbara from California.
She's from California, Orange County. Welcome to the show. Paul Hollis says, hi, Rob and MARCEE.
Oh, how you doing?
Oh, my goodness.
So how are things in North Carolina tonight?
Kind of windy, kind of chilly, but great.
Windy, chilly, and great. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Every day in the mountains of North Carolina are great.
Very good. Do you have a fire in your fireplace?
We do.
You do?
Every night during this time of the year. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
That's
jealous.
Awesome. Well, you can have the cold, though. But
It's kind of cold.
Not a fan.
I like it. I
like to visit it.
Yeah, I like the cold. I mean, by this time, I'm pretty sick of the heat.
Yeah.
This time of year,
By the
every
end,
year, I'm
end
like,
of the summer, yeah.
could I please have some days when I could at least wear a sweater?
Right.
And I have a collection of boots that I need to wear, so, you know.
Flurries already, but it's really been 3 or 4 really nice, pretty days. So we're getting ready. Winter's almost here.
And your leaves are all beautiful,
Brown
I bet,
or
right
beautiful?
now.
They finished?
It's gone now. They're all
they're gone already?
Yeah, that's what I
wow.
thought. This is the end of October.
Now, you're up in northern part of
it would have been the
North
first
Carolina,
week of
yeah,
October,
yeah.
probably they peaked.
Yep, that's when it was.
James L. Ricard says, hello,
Hey,
everyone.
James.
Sorry I'm late. Good to see you here, James. Joe Conjal says the North Carolina mountains are gorgeous this time of the year.
Yep.
Yeah, they live way north of of you, Joe.
By Bristol.
Yep. It's Elk, what?
Banner Elk.
Banner Elk, right?
Sorry.
Montana, right?
Necessary.
So tell us a little bit about yourselves. How did you get started writing together?
Or writing, period.
Or writing, period.
Because they write separately and together, guys. We'll explain later. Just stick around.
Let MARCEE start that one.
Okay.
I'm going to tell the story about meeting us, our first date.
Oh, well, there is that.
That would be the beginning, right?
Many years ago, I was impressing this young lady by taking her to Shoney's and throwing money around as we split a piece of strawberry pie. And we had a very deep conversation, saying that one day when I grew up, I was going to live in the mountains in a log cabin. And about 45 years later, she bought into the concept, and here we are.
Awesome.
So, I don't know, something about the mountains, I think, has brought the writing out in us.
Awesome. Chanel says, I'm from West Virginia, but lived many years in Council, North Carolina for a long time. My grandparents lived there for 50 plus years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. West Virginia's pretty too.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is. So, when did you start writing? You know what? Why don't I bring up your book cover? Was this your first book, Unclaimed Baggage?
That was my sister Susan McCulloch and my first book.
Yes.
And we started writing it. It was published in 2013, but we started writing it 6 years before. So we weren't up here in the mountains then. But we felt really called to write the story because it's a Christian inspirational, and our mother had Alzheimer's, and we felt like the story that we tell in the book is usually Alzheimer's is a horrible disease, and it is a horrible disease, but we got blessings from the disease, and we felt like God wanted us to write our story, and so many other people have been blessed by us telling our story, where they tell us when they write us or give a review or whatever. But God worked through that disease to heal my sisters and me, and it was wonderful. And so we had never written a book before, but we felt like we needed to write down the story. And that's how it came to be.
And is that what got you on your journey to writing?
Yes. Then I really enjoyed the process. I really enjoyed everything about it. And I thought, I would love to try my hand at fiction, because that was more true, life.
Yeah.
And it was hard to write because it was my story. But so I thought, I'm going to try to do some fiction. So I did. And I just started writing for fun, writing stories that I wanted to write for fun. So.
But in fairness, MARCEE was a storyteller long before she actually started putting words down in print.
I used to tell stories to my students, and that's how I started. I was a storyteller. and I loved that. And I taught elementary all the way through middle school, and I told stories the whole time. So that's how it really started, way back in my career as a teacher.
Joe Conjal wants to know, what came first, the writing or the antique shop?
Well, actually, I started doing antique booths before the writing, and then we wrote I wrote my first book, and then we moved up here and we started the antique store up here. We have it in Banner Elk. So yeah, it's that was another passion of mine too, was to try to both of ours is to try to do that, because we had booths, and we loved doing that. So we opened a store.
Okay, Brindy, I'm not even going to attempt to say your last name because I'll probably butcher it. But Brindy would like to know, what do you love about writing the most?
I enjoy writing description, and I notice everything around me, and I enjoy writing about that and what I see and hear and taste and feel, and that's important to me when I read a book. So I like to do that, and I guess that's to get across what I'm feeling and seeing and experiencing in a book, in a story. So that's my favorite part.
Well, let me go to your first nonfiction book then, which is this one.
That's fiction.
Your first fiction book,
Yeah.
Not your nonfiction book. Someday I'll figure out the difference between fiction and nonfiction.
You'll catch on.
Your first fiction book, Always Thaddeus by MARCEE Corn. And I love the cover. Can you tell us a little synopsis about that?
Sure. It's a story of there's some mental health issues in it. One of the main characters has some mental health issues, and she lost her son, and so she's trying to get through that, and as a result loses her husband too. Her husband leaves her because of what she's going through with her losing her son. And it's a romance, but it's also a thriller, and it takes place in Maine, which I love Maine because that's where I went as a child, and so I set the book there. And it's a thriller, so there's a lot going on, a lot of characters, and romance and suspense in it, and it's just how these people work through their issues and how they find new love and so on.
Paul Hollis says wonderful cover, which I agree. Let me throw that up there again so people can see it. It has a lot of color in it. It really looks beautiful.
Yeah.
I met James online on Twitter, actually, and I liked his art. And so we started talking, and he said he would love to do my cover. So he painted, that's a painting. And then he let me use it for that book and my second book.
It's great.
It reminds me of a sunset.
Yeah, it does.
Is that what it's supposed
sunset
to be?
Over water.
Yes. And he does the illustrations too in the book with the lighthouses and different things in Maine.
Oh,
yeah,
it's cool.
Actually, exciting, was done over in England as part of an art show / book signing with James,
because he's English,
which was just a lot of fun.
It was fun, yeah.
Cool.
Chanel says, I have an antique shop here on my property in Wisconsin. LOL, you're my doppelganger.
It's fun. Well, I'll just talk about the antique shop one quick time.
Sure, go ahead.
My brother-in-law and my sister all run the shop with me. We all own the shop. And Rob and Francis, my brother-in-law, make unique lights out of anything we can find, like old trombones or we have a baritone, we have and they're all lights, and so we're kind of known for our unique lights that we sell in our store, and they're made from antique pieces that we repurpose, so repurposing.
Okay, so that is in Banner Elk.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the name of it?
The Twisted Twig.
The Twisted Twig. Okay, so everybody head over to Banner Elk and do some shopping.
And any of you that have lived in the mountains or visited the mountains know that twisted twigs are used quite a bit in furniture making. So
Absolutely.
it's
Yay, you got it.
oh yeah, got it on one. Before we go to your second book, and there's a reason for my madness.
Really?
I want to bring up this book, North Carolina Bards, Poetry Anthology 2021, and there is also going to be one in 2022. And tell us about your part in that, Rob.
You know, I work a little bit with poetry, a little bit with song lyrics, mostly short stories, and the one novel. And basically, I kind of view them as all the same thing. You're trying to tell a story, and you just have limitations in wording and size as you move from a piece of poetry to a novel. So I had these little bits and pieces, scraps of poems, and I saw an opportunity to enter a few of mine, and I was really, really shocked and pleased that they chose to publish some of those.
And is that what got you started in venturing out and writing more than just poetry or lyrics?
I really started with short stories first. My father was a great storyteller. He grew up during the Depression, and we just grew up with him, you know, telling these wonderful stories. And as he would always say, "Oh, never let the facts get in the way of a good story." and so the story that I tell now, I can't even tell you how much of them is true and how much of them isn't true. I've told them for so long. The stories kind of take a life of their own, and that's kind of where the short stories came from.
So we have two questions. Joe Conchel says, the shop sounds fantastic. How far from Charlotte? A fur piece, Joe.
It's about 2.5 hours from Charlotte, straight up. So
not too bad. You can make it a day trip there,
and
Joe.
He asks because that's where he lives.
Yeah.
And Marjorie Daring said, my husband likes model railroading. You too, Rob, Marcy, any railroading in your stories? And funnily enough, Chanel just asked, who is the train collector?
We are chronic collectors. It's all of these are hobbies that have gotten out of control. Try to keep.
I was just thinking you guys could write a time travel book called The Train Collector.
There you go.
Time traveling train collector. Yeah.
In the Titanic Paradox, one of the women in the book ends up working for the L&N Railroad, but that's not really tied into the toy trains, but they're always in the back of my mind.
This is the book he just referenced, the Titanic Paradox. I think that every antique store owner is a collector. I mean, that's how you get started having an antique store, because you can't fit anymore in your house.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's big for,
okay, one more comment.
Okay.
Oh, Chanel says you are amazing people.
Oh,
and
yes, you are.
They are, Chanel. They really are.
We're going to have to take this opportunity to hear from our sponsors.
From a sponsor.
We have a couple of new sponsors here, and we're going to hear from them. So sit tight, everybody. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Magnolia Bluff, Texas, a small town in the heart of the Texas Hill Country near Burnett Reservoir. A town where everyone's business is discussed at the local coffee shop. A town where neighbors look out for each other. A town not insulated from murder and mayhem. Which begs these questions. Who is responsible for breaking into quaint Victorian homes? And how are poodles, ghosts, drug cartels, and a Ponzi scheme connected with a serial killer?
Caroline McCulloch, the town's librarian, catalogs books using the Dewey Decimal System. When a black and white poodle puppy arrives unannounced, she calls him Dewey. Now, Caroline must catalog events to identify a serial killer in her town. Pick up your copy of the Dewey Decimal Dilemma, now available on Amazon.
They thought the siren was dead. In the novel Siren Song by author George Dismukes, James Harmon shot her twice. Several people saw her dead body sinking slowly into the abyss. But now, in Siren Song 2, evidence suggests that she may still be alive.
She killed that boatload of people. It was her! And she's just getting started!
Angie, that's impossible.
The cold chill up my spine tells me it's not impossible. We've got to start all over again. And this time, do it right.
Siren Song 2. The story continues. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Get your copy today.
At Indie Booksource, you can shop by genre or by author, and you will be buying direct from the author's main purchase link. We offer hundreds of titles in formats that include ebooks, paperback, hardbound, and audiobook. Support an indie author. Visit indiebooksource.com today.
And we're back.
Yes, glad to have you back. So before we go on with and share how people can reach you and everything, let's talk a little bit about your second book that you both collaborated on, Always Thaddeus, The Resurrection.
Basically, we got to the end, Marcy got to the end of the first book, and we liked it so well. We liked the characters a lot, and we just didn't want to let the characters go yet. So we decided we would have a sequel, but we would try something a little bit differently, and we did. We each took characters and wrote stories and the parts of the stories from the character perspective. And then one day, 6 or 8 months later, we all sat down at the kitchen table and pretty much shuffled our chapters like a deck of cards and found that it actually made pretty good sense. It did require a lot of transitions to pull the two pieces together, but it was interesting to see that most people who read it could not tell which parts Marcy had written and which parts I had written. So our styles are very similar.
Well, they blended together beautifully, and that's a unique way of co-authoring. I think I've never, I haven't heard of that before.
No.
Okay, Joe.
We looked where it wanted.
Joe Concho says, the burning question, pantsers or plotters? Do you know those? Have you ever heard of pantsers or plotters?
I do not.
Oh, okay. Plotters plot out the whole story. They plot out everything. They outline it. They know where they're going. And pantsers are people who fly by the seat of their pants and just kind of write it.
Just kind of go for it.
Yeah.
Plotters, pantser.
Okay. All right. Well, that works.
Just go by the seat of my pants.
That works because even if you're a pantser, you wind up periodically during the writing process writing things down and getting them back into sequence so that you know where you're at. Every once in a while you have to do that, or you're going to have everything all jumbled up.
Chris Chrisman says, hi, Rob and Joan and guests.
Haven't seen you for a
while.
while.
Rob and Marcy are their names. He's here, and he says, co-authoring is hard. How did you manage and stay married?
Really, I think it went really, really well for us. I mean, the most fun part that we wrote together in our book was the court scene, which is at the end. And we had decided he would do some of the characters in the court scene and I would do the others. And he just happened to write all the lawyers parts, and I was the some of the witnesses and characters. So he separately, I didn't know what he was going to write, but he wrote the questions out for my characters to answer. And so I answered them, like the characters. And when we finished that part, it was really amazing how well it worked and how it made sense, the way it flowed. And
so I was the prosecuting attorney. She was the witness. And I had the advantage of knowing everybody's dirty little secrets. So I got to question the witness based on that. But she didn't know what I was going to ask.
No.
And I didn't know how she was going to respond.
And that's what we put in the book. So it worked out great. It really
is great.
I knew how the book was going to end. I knew that. But that was it. And too, I want to say this. I don't know if Rob agrees with me totally on this, but sometimes I feel like once you get to know your characters, which you do real well when you're writing,
yes,
they kind of write the story for me. My main character was Beth, and she had a lot of issues, but it was kind of like she was wanting to tell this story. I mean, it's weird to say that, but I knew I knew her personality, and I could, it was weird. That was the first time when I wrote the first one. It was like she was telling me what to write,
Yep. All authors say the same thing. Chris Chrisman just said, I lightly plot, but my characters take over.
Yeah.
and that's the truth. It was very strange to us when we started writing to realize that the characters were writing the story. It's like, hey, I'm the boss here.
Right.
And the character goes, nope, we're going this way.
One way we were able to stay married is there was an unspoken rule that we could give each other advice, and we certainly did constantly. But on the character she was writing, she always had the last vote. Her opinions, and on my characters, I always would listen because she had such good ideas. But if I felt strongly about my characters doing this, I got to win. Mm-hmm. So there had to be some kind of agreement in advance that how would disagreements would be resolved.
Yeah, it was fun though. We had a great time doing it.
George Dismuke says, if you're worth a damn as a writer, the characters always take over. That's true, George. I agree. And Chanel says, I'm currently working on my own story, Joan. My therapist feels it will help with my memory loss. That's a good idea,
that is
Chanel.
Good. Great idea.
And keep writing. Mm-hmm. That's a really good thing. Well, I think that's a very interesting way that you did it, and it worked, and I'm glad that it worked. Chanel says the stroke is hard enough, but the loss of people in time, I imagine, Chanel, I don't know, I imagine it's really hard. Plus she lost the use of her right eye, I think it was. Not fun what you're going through. Wait a minute, let me find this again. I would like to talk a little bit about the Titanic paradox, which is something that Rob has written all by himself. And,
well, as we mentioned, MARCEE was a school teacher, and she had a science class and was always very fascinated with the Titanic. And so there's a great Titanic attraction and museum down in Pigeon Forge, about 2.5 hours from here. So we went 2 years ago, I guess, and toured it, and it was just beautifully done. But we were both taken by the size and the scope of the tragedy, and hearing all the personal stories of the people on the ship. And so, as we got back in the car and started driving back home, I think we did what most people do, and that's what what would it be like if you were on the ship? If you could go back in time, how would you react in that situation? And by the time we got home, I had a little Twilight Zone story in my head about how that a little short story. And after a couple of months, had it knocked out, and I was real pleased. And sent it to our editor, and she said, "Oh, would you be willing to try to make this into a novel? I think there's enough here that it would make an interesting novel." So I said, I'll give it a shot. And we have so many good and supportive friends. Beth McCord is a friend of ours. She's with the Titanic Historical Association, and Hannah Holton is a historic author that is helping. And oh gosh, Jill Corley is a great beta reader. But they all, between family and friends, they all gave me great ideas, which helped kind of flesh out a short story into a novel. And I'm real pleased, and I had a great time doing it for the first time.
Now he loves to do research. That's who he is. And our bedroom and where he writes is in our bedroom. There's a desk. He had Titanic posters everywhere. He had a blueprint of the inside. He had newspaper articles. It was covered. Our walls were covered with Titanic stuff. He really got into the research because he wanted to make sure, and he talked with our friend Beth too, wanted to make sure the details were right.
And the cover is great. It's very intriguing. It makes you want to open the book, which is I guess what a cover is supposed to do.
Yeah, looks awesome.
But it looks ghostly coming through the
spooky
water. That's great.
It is. It's really great.
Publishing. Rob came up with the design, but then they did all the smoke and all that. It's good.
So instead of a storyboard, you had a story room.
A story bedroom.
So there is so much information available. I mean, you know what the second class passengers had for dinner the night the ship hit the icebergs. I mean, there's all this information, and I wanted it to be factual for those folks because there's so many people that know so much about the Titanic. So it had to read historically accurate, but
I understand.
Wanted to add little fantasy and some suspense and into it as well. My dog ate my first cover tonight.
Very first book, his copy.
And he loved the cover. He just went on and on about, he wasn't thrilled with the text.
That excuse has been used for years.
Joe Conchel says that cover being in black and white was the perfect choice, and his dog agrees with you.
Apparently.
George Dismukes wants Chanel to know she should eat lots of mangoes to help with her stroke recovery. Chris Chrisman says the Titanic exhibit in Las Vegas is awesome, humbling. You can feel the lost people.
Yes, you can.
Almost like the Vietnam War Memorial when you walk past that, I bet.
Yeah. Or going to Gettysburg.
Or Gettysburg, yeah.
Marjorie Deering says, I think if characters conform strictly to your plans, it's because their personalities aren't strong enough. Strong characters aren't compliant. That's a really, I like
good
that,
observation.
Marjorie.
Yeah, that's well said. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have strong characters, all of us. Yeah.
But I think, go ahead.
Chris Chrisman says it was touching a piece of the hull. Yeah, that's that. Imagine how long ago that was, and it still can move us.
Oh yeah.
The museum in Pigeon Forge has Wallace Hartley's violin and sheet music, and Satchel, who was the band leader on the
Who played on,
and it's there on loan. But to actually see the violin, I'm kind of a museum geek to start with, but to actually see these things and know that he was a real hero in his own way,
right?
he took the gift he had and shared it to help the folks that were going through that. That is just really amazing.
Totally.
It was one part of the history that always got to me was that, he stood there and played on.
Yeah.
Right.
While people were dying. And Chris Chrisman said my wife and I were brought to tears. Yeah.
We were too. Yeah.
We have an exhibit here in Orlando too with things, and Atlanta had one for a while.
One of our kids went over and saw that.
Jesse
did. Said it was amazing.
Yeah. When you go in, you get to be one of the people, and then at the end, you find out whether you survived or you died.
Wow, that's heavy.
And that's in Rob's book. His main character gets to go in as in present day, and then he's a character, and he goes back in time and is that character. So,
his card has the name of the person he goes back and inhabits.
Yeah.
And he knows that he's going to die because his card says so.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's interesting. And I got the exact same feeling going to the Titanic Museum as the 9/11 memorial.
Okay. Yeah.
The personal effects, and that's what I love about museums. It takes history and kind of makes it more real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, let's take our last commercial break, and then when we come back, we'll tell people how to reach you and also do our book giveaway. So,
get ready, people.
Ready? Everyone, stay right where you're at, and we'll talk some more.
So, you wrote a book. What now? It's time to make the choice between self-publishing and finding a publisher. Texas Sisters Press is a family-owned publishing company. We are also authors and avid readers. We can guide you through the entire process and will make sure your work is treated with the utmost respect. Where to start? Visit TexasSistersPress.com and click on the Submissions tab. Make sure you read the entire page. You'll find out what we can do and what we won't do. If you think we're a good fit for you, it's time to contact us. Texas Sisters Press. Quality books for the family.
Madison Jackson loved being a cop. A young girl is raped and murdered near Burnett Reservoir. Madison vows to get justice for the child. Madison travels to the heart of Mexican cartel country. She is kidnapped, tortured. Will Madison ever make it home? Justice by Kelly Marshall, only at Amazon.com.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Behold, this one about a man, a woman, a black jaguar, and an ancient Maya legend. Two Faces of the Jaguar is a novel by George Dismukes that will take you deep into the jungle and capture your imagination until the last word. Two Faces of the Jaguar is book one of a trilogy. Two Faces of the Jaguar, where only the adventurous dare to read.
Two Faces of the Jaguar, The Lost City, and The Jaguar's Quest are available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Two Faces of the Jaguar, the book people are talking about. Get your copy today.
And we're back.
We are.
And for those of you that came in late and didn't hear what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, Tony Hillerman, as you know, is like my favorite all-time author. And his daughter, who is also a New York Times bestseller, is going to be on the show, on the podcast next week. So tune in for that and see me for the first time unable to speak.
To Ann Hillerman.
To Ann Hillerman, yes. I'm just excited. Chris Chrisman said, "We will be getting that book, Rob. Thanks for telling us about it."
Thank you so much.
Yeah, sounds good. Or you could win it.
You might win it. Yeah. Or you could buy it.
Or you could buy it.
Win it. Buy several copies for your friends.
Yeah. There you go. And people you don't know. Yeah.
Okay. They have a joint website. It's MARCEECornAuthor.com is one. MARCEECORNAUTHOR. And then the other one is RLCorn.com.
They both go to the same website. So
Mm-hmm. But
whichever
actually,
one you can remember. It's probably RL Corn.
Yes. And that's
a short one.
That's going to be for the book giveaway too. So on Facebook, you can find Marcie under Marcie Corn Author. I'm losing my voice. Marcie's email is marciecorn@gmail.com. Oh no, you'll be going to her email. That's where you'll be going, right? Or did we say Rob's email?
Rob's.
Yeah, we said Rob's.
Rob's. All right, that's what I was remembering. Rob's email is rlcorn47@gmail.com.
So now you're totally confused, everyone. But
no,
that's okay.
You're not.
Oh,
They're
okay.
not.
They're not. Okay, you're not.
All right.
All right, book giveaway. Book giveaway. Here it goes. The book giveaway is that the first 3 people to email rlcorn47@gmail.com will win an ebook copy of choice.
Or an ebook.
An ebook. Could be an ebook or a Reebok. I don't know.
Right.
One of the 3.
Get to typing real fast, people. Oh dear, aren't you glad you came on the show?
And if you win one, buy another one.
Yeah, I don't know if you see me jerking back.
I do. I see the dog wants to be on
the show.
Dog.
Yes, our dog is trying to get my attention.
Making a guest appearance.
We see her little head is sticking out past her arm there every once in a while. Ours was laying on her back like this, over on the bed. So.
But ours is very, very small. She's zonked out in here. Okay. Well, hello there. What a pretty girl.
What's her name?
Tucker. He's a little boy. He's 9 months old, so he's very much a puppy.
Chris Chrisman says, email sent. The rest of you better.
Okay.
And Chris also says he's fighting his cat. So
he's probably trying to get to Tucker.
Probably.
I'm trying to remember which author we had on who the cat jumped up on their computer and you could see
it was Adam Gaffin.
Tail. Maybe it was Adam Gaffin.
Sure.
Saw the tail going across the computer screen. It was pretty funny.
So what do you got coming up?
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, we're thinking about this, but
okay,
because I'm so much of a planner versus a plotter, we're thinking about doing just an ongoing story on our website where we write a chapter maybe once every 2 weeks, and then give the readers an opportunity to say where they want the story to go, and maybe give them 3 choices, and then we'll write to where they would like to see the story go.
That sounds really fun.
I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I think it will be challenging, and will make me a little less of a planner.
And it will keep you busy.
Yes.
It's plotter or pantser?
Okay. Well, pull me towards the other side.
You could be a planter.
Chris Chrisman says like RPG. That's what your ongoing theme would be. I think a lot of authors do that in their newsletters,
like on a blog, kind of thing. Only this is on the website, so that's different.
And that'll be good.
Yeah, it's good.
It'll be fun. How about another, maybe a sequel to your book, or Rob, or your co-authored one?
I don't, not on the Titanic Paradox. I don't think so. I think we're going to leave it sunk this time. And but there's always ideas kind of floating around, and so I don't know. I've got a couple of ideas, but at this point, we'll just take a break.
I've got a couple of things already partially written, and that he may help me with. We're talking about that too. So we don't have anything specifically coming out. It usually takes both of us about 2 or 3 years to write a book and then get it out. So it'll be a little. His just came out. So
you're busy. Also, you're busy too. So
yeah, you've got an antique store.
Got a store to run, and
so it's we just can't get a book out real fast.
No.
So anyway.
And a 5-week-old grandbaby. That's the best.
Rosie.
How sweet.
At this point, I really don't get anything that has more than a 5-year warranty on it anyway. So to plan out a book that's going to take me another 2 years, if I get one more out, that would be a miracle.
There you go.
Yeah. Rob always says that we do paranormal investigations to make friends for the future.
For the near future, yes. We can check in when we get there. Hey guys, how you doing?
That's why they show up and talk to us. It's like, oh yeah. Chris Chrisman said that sounds like fun. Your ongoing story line. It does sound like fun. Yeah. Yes. But
we can always ask the entities that our new friends, we can always ask them, hey, how did you shut that door anyway? Exchange of ideas and stuff.
What they've got would be great.
Yeah, there you go.
I want to do that.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I've told my kids, forget it. I'm not coming back to haunt anybody.
Okay.
Once I graduate, I'm staying graduated.
Right.
So another spin for a story for you. As an antique collector, you could discover a pen, and that would write books.
Oh no, that's straight from the Twilight Zone. I'm sorry. You are now.
Have I crossed over?
You have, yes.
You pick up the pen and it starts writing the story.
That is straight from the Twilight Zone. But Sterling will come back and haunt you.
Oh, that's the problem with trying to write song lyrics. You come up with these great ideas and you start, working through it in the melody, and then you sing it to somebody and they go, oh yeah, we heard that song.
I heard those words before.
The Beatles did that.
I know. I was just covering it for
you. Yes. That's Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, I know it. Yeah, Chris Chrisman says tangents keep us writers busy. That is right.
That's for sure.
Very true. Let me we've still got the email up there, so you can go ahead and send in and get one of those books. So sure. I guess the point that I was getting at is if the Thaddeus storyline is finished.
Yes, probably so. I love the characters. I would love to think I could go on, but the last scene kind of in the second one kind of ended that series. So, and I thought I was done after the first one, but people didn't people didn't want a character to die, and so I ended up, after I published the first one, that's when Rob said, I think you need to do something more here. So it was like I thought the story was over, and then we had to go back and figure out the details that maybe we left out on some of the parts to make it make sense, and so it was interesting that I thought that was the end, and then we went on from there, with the second one. But no, I don't think there's going to be a third one.
Okay, so anything you see would be new, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It was a classic example after the first one of spending 2 years to paint yourself into a corner,
right, and
then decide to do another book, a sequel, and figure out how to get out of the corner without stepping in the paint. There were things that we had to come up with. How did this happen if this person or that person had already, run their course? So it was a lot of fun.
It was.
And I think that's an area in which we worked well together, just brainstorming over breakfast and stuff about how do we bring this person back.
So Chris Chrisman said, all good things come to an end. So Arthur Conan Doyle thought with Sherlock Holmes. And we see how well that happened, right? People are still writing Sherlock Holmes stories. Marjorie Deering says, writing as a team, do you write dialogue separately or bounce it back and forth between the two of you as though you were having an actual conversation? How do you handle that?
That was one reason I got involved with the first Always Thaddeus book. Is we were talking the other night. Her protagonist was this man's man kind of guy, and every so often he would use words like precious or and I was kind of going, I don't really think that he would say, that's a precious dog. So I said, tell me what you want him to say, and then I will try to say it more like a guy might say it.
That's true. And he wrote really good male dialogue. And so I said, I'm hiring you to write my male dialogue. And so he did. And then that worked out a lot better. And so, but no, we just usually let the dialogue lead, like especially in the second one. We just talk back and forth, and he still did the male guy's dialogue, and I did some males too, but it just flowed. It just kind of flowed, I think. So
George Dismuke says the doggy is beautiful.
Not well trained.
George, would you like a dog?
George has two dogs, but he would take that dog in a New York minute.
Yeah, down in Texas, so it might be a little bit of a walk.
Joe Conchel said, have you guys looked into Vella on Amazon? Very similar to what you were thinking about doing with the story on your website regarding publishing an episode every couple of weeks.
I have seen that on Facebook. Some of my friends do that, my author friends, and I don't quite understand how it works. But I have seen that they put out short. I guess I don't really know how it works, but I have seen it on there. Yeah. So we may look into that and see what it is.
I know Adam Gaffin uses it and puts out stories on there all the time.
Yeah, he puts out stories
regularly, so he's very familiar with it. So,
okay,
you could probably email him.
Yeah, love to hear more about that. I've got a lot of short stories on the website, so I want people to go to the website just to drive them to where there are a lot of short stories.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Track them there, yeah.
Chris Chrisman says, I have to speak my dialogue out loud. It helps to know if the character would really say that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I have to read out loud too when I write. So otherwise.
George says they have two dogs. They let us sleep inside so long as we bribe them with enough treats.
That's true.
Then he and Dean are allowed back in the house.
I do use the feature in Word that reads it out loud.
Yeah.
That's kind of a good starting place to see if, even though it's in a computer voice, does it sound like someone talking?
Yeah, that would have helped us when we wrote doze instead of dose. I mean, dose instead of dose.
Right.
If we had used that. Yep, that was one of the mistakes we made. Chris Chrisman, good to know I'm not alone with that, driving my wife crazy.
Thinking you're crazy, right? Oh,
I know. That's funny. Yes, that feature would have helped, seriously, because we did write that. We wrote dose instead of dose.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So let's tell everybody how to reach them again.
Okay.
Where are we going? Right here. The joint website is marceecornauthor.com or rlcorn.com. It goes to the same place.
Yep.
On Facebook, Marcee Corn Author, and she is very active on that Facebook page, so you won't be bothering her. marceecorn@gmail.com is her email if you want to reach Marcee. And Rob's, of course, rlcorn47@gmail.com.
Yep, and that's where... Okay, Chris Chrisman says his wife knows he's crazy to start writing novels at my age, LOL. Yeah, I know. I think we're all crazy. All authors are crazy.
There we go.
I'm just making a snap judgment right there, but...
Of course, I would drive Marcee crazy because I would get up in the middle of the night with an idea and turn on the computer with multiple monitors, and the bedroom would light up, and this thought, or even just a line or something, written. So, yeah, I guess little bit of craziness in all of us.
There you go.
Yeah, I know there is. Chris
sure.
Chrisman said, I agree, Joan. Yeah, I mean, we really are crazy because we're all talking about our characters are real, that they drive the story, that they go places we want to go. Oh, Marjorie Deering made a joke. She said, a bright idea. Turning on the computers.
Yes, so cute.
It's really sad.
It was a good joke.
It's really sad that you think that your characters' lives are going on inside the book when it's up on the shelf. That's pretty sad, right?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Chris Chrisman says they are real to me. They are real. They really are real.
And it's so sad when the book is over and you don't hear from them. It is sad.
Well,
so
that's what I love about reading a good book is when you finish it, you feel like you've lost a really good friend, and
yeah,
not going to hear from them again unless there's a sequel. But
right,
honestly, that's Anne Hillerman continuing on her dad's storyline with the same characters, Jim Chi, Joe Leaphorn, Bernadette Manuelito, is wonderful for me because she does it so well. And
like
I have read every single one of his books and have been reading them since 1970. So when he died, I felt really sad. Mm-hmm. And she's doing such a good job. But it was like, I'm sure when Agatha Christie, when Agatha Christie killed off Hercule Poirot, I'm sure people were just terribly bereft. Chris Chrisman says he doesn't want the story to end. That's true. Right. And the last one went feral. And Joe Conjal says they're very real. My PI is solving cases between the ones I write about. LOL. And now Joe is going to be on the next Magnolia Bluff. He's joined the Underground Authors Writers, everybody. That's a news flash. You heard it here. George Dismukes. I would give anything to sit down and have a beer with one of my characters named Didier. He is very real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris Chrisman says, cool, Joe. Yeah. Congratulations, Joe. That's really cool.
So, Rob and Marcee, do you guys have any advice to give to people that are thinking about husband and wife teams writing together for them, but they're afraid to try it or are unsure of how to do it?
Well, I think they should try. I mean, like y'all do too. I mean, it's fun. It's real fun, and it's worth trying. And it may not work. For some people, but I loved it. I had a great time.
Yeah.
I think in general, I wish I hadn't, in just a whole realm of different subjects, I wish I hadn't have waited until I was the age I was when I started so many things. And I guess part of the concern is, I don't want to do it and fail at it, or not do it well, or whatever. And I guess you hit a certain age where you go, well, I really don't care anymore. I'm doing this for me. And if anyone else enjoys it, that's wonderful. And I'm happy to share it with them. But if they don't enjoy it, that's okay too. And so that's why I'm writing poetry and short stories and trying to write music. And, it has to be for you first. And,
right.
If it makes you feel good and you enjoy doing it, I think where you get into trouble when you're doing it for someone else to tell you, it's good. That's
or to try to get rich or famous.
Well,
don't do it for that reason. I think once there is a perk to getting to be our age, and that is that you've learned to fail. You've learned that failing is what makes you succeed. And it doesn't bother you anymore. And if people think you're crazy,
oh well,
you really don't care anymore. It's like,
exactly right.
What you think?
That's right.
We have a few comments here. Joe Conjal says, thanks, guys. I'm excited about it. He's talking about being part of the Underground Authors and writing in the next series of Magnolia Bluff. Great. We're excited for him. Great show tonight. Thank you, both couples, Chris Chrisman says. And let me see. I am having trouble here with all the... Okay. Oh, George Desmuke says Didier, pronounced Didier, more or less. It's a French name. Didier. And yeah, Didier would be it. Chris Chrisman said, how long have you two been married? Just curious. Which couple are you talking to? You go first, you guys.
Oh, there's so many ways to answer that.
Really? How long have you been married? Give us all the ways.
Only one will keep me out of trouble. So I would say 45 years.
46 years.
Oh, coming up.
Yes, 46 years. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've been married 46 years.
You've been married 46 years too?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you're kidding.
76?
No.
74. 74. 1974. Yeah.
And Chris.
That's my answer. That's my final answer.
Okay.
It may or may not be correct.
Chris Chrisman says, what if my urban fantasy readers hate it? Yeah. Yeah, he said the first book release was scary. He said, what if my urban fantasy readers hate it? That is true. It is scary, I think, but I still think go ahead and write it.
Yeah, write what's on your heart.
It is your baby. It's your creation, and you're sending it out there into the cold, cruel world. And, so I get that. And he said, it's not about money. And then he said, that's awesome, guys, that you've been married that long. Not money. George Desmuke says not money, not fame. Satisfaction is what it's all about. That's right. And just because you have to do it. But I want to tell you people, Caleb and Linda Pirtle have been married 58 years.
Wow.
That's a long time. Mm-hmm. But it's not a long time if you're in love.
Oh, well, they are in love, and they're a wonderful couple. They are very...
Time goes by quickly.
Yeah.
It does.
And Caleb always says that writer's block happens when you're trying to make your characters do something that they don't want to do.
Oh, wow.
And that's true. That was a eureka moment for me.
There are so many good comments that have come out tonight. I wish I could have been taking notes. I'll watch the reruns and be taking notes next time.
We have a lot of authors in the audience.
A lot of great people tune in and contribute, and we appreciate it.
We always tell everybody we have such an intelligent audience, and it's wonderful to hear their comments.
Yeah, even this one. George has been married over 50 years. It's not to the same person.
That's true.
Paul Ellis says, another interesting and fun program. Thanks, everyone. I always learn something each time.
And Chris Chrisman says this: we are here to help each other, and that's true. Authors are so helpful. They really are. Joe Conjal said, enjoyed tonight's show. Marcy and Rob are very interesting. And of course, thanks, Joan and Rob. You're welcome.
And Joe, you got to drive up there to the antique shop and buy a lamp, buy a tuba lamp or a trombone lamp. That'd be cool. You just turn it on. It would have to be the kind with a dimmer switch in the lamp. Yeah.
We have made some very peculiar things. The fun of it is not everybody wants to buy something like that, but they all want to look at it and say,
that's interesting.
Well, it gets them to come to the store, right?
George Snook says, super show. Thank you, George. Joe Conjal says, I'll make my way up there soon, I hope. I've been sitting here thinking, okay, and so ever since I first said that he does that, is that, all right, we bought a new trailer last year, and I don't like the dining room light, the light over the dinette.
So you said, yes.
Many times. I need to replace it.
To be fair, only once or twice.
I really don't like it. It's boring. And
it's just a light. It's not just a bulb. I mean, it's got a
shade and everything.
It's got a thing on it, what do you call it? A teardrop or whatever. I don't know what it's called. It's got a shade on it. It's something.
Anyway, I would like something unique. That would be cool.
Well, just a bulb would be unique. Most people don't have that in their trailer, right? Well, I think we better wrap up here. And
I think some people may, actually.
Oh, boy.
Just saying.
Yeah. Thank you so much, you guys, for joining us.
Oh, it's been so much fun.
We've had
we
fun
appreciate
time.
you to be on your show.
Been great having you
wait
on.
a minute. There was just a truism here. This Chrisman said, the wife must be happy, Rob.
He's talking to Rob.
No. Why do you think we have a new trailer, Chris?
Chris is talking to the other Rob, not me.
We traded in the other one because it wasn't comfortable.
Yeah, there you go. That's true. That's true.
I know it is.
All right. Well, thanks again, guys. Going to move you over to the side. Hang in there and don't go away. And
thanks for being on the show. It was a lot of fun. Thank you, everyone, for watching and commenting.
Yeah.
Please comment, like, share all the time. We love your comments. We just got another one.
Okay. Want to remind everybody to hop on over to
it was a private
Voice of Indie podcast. And Jan Sykes is the guest tonight, so you won't have missed much of it, I don't think. It's just started a few minutes ago. And stay tuned here for the next couple of minutes, and you can see exactly how to get to the Voice of Indie, as they are good friends of ours, and
we appreciate their sharing.
We appreciate their sharing and their show. Mm-hmm. And next week, New York Times bestselling author Ann Hillerman, same place, same time, right here. Until next time.
That's all, folks.
Live every Wednesday, your Voice of Indie hosts Beam Weeks and Stephen Gees welcome authors, musicians, publishing industry pros, artists, and assorted creative guests for an exciting interactive hour. Call in during the show or post questions and comments on Twitter for responses in real time. Meet your favorite indie creators, learn inside tips, network, and promote your work. The link for each week's show is pinned on Twitter atop @VoiceOfIndie. And you can receive the link every Wednesday morning in your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter at freshinkgroup.com. Check out Voice of Indie every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio and catch hundreds of episodes archived everywhere from our websites to our YouTube channel and Spotify.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.